way of classifying someone, but in this case, you'll sort of see. In case that wasn't good enough for you, Ethan spoke at TED on the war on drugs. Now, if you haven't heard of TED, I don't know what to say. But I'll explain it to you anyway. Basically, the smartest people in the world, and some of the best business people in the world, and some of the leading advocates in the world, go to a conference where they then listen to other people speak about what's going on in their mind and what their life's work is. Ethan spoke at TED on the war on drugs. Ethan is the guy. Ethan is the guy, and 1.6 million views helps give you a sense of that. So Ethan, for everything that you've done over the history of your career and all that you will continue to do, because this is just chapter 1, thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh. Okay. So, thank you very much, Josh, and all of you here at CannaGather. It's great to. I just want to make one suggestion first, because it is the end of a long evening. I want to suggest that everyone who's been sitting just stand up for about 15 seconds and stretch for stretch and get your jumps down. Stop your cushion making.
We should have like an intermission.
Good.
I guess
Okay, sit down now. That's enough. Don't smoke yet.
No smoking. No smoking. No vaping.
No smoking. No vaping.
I know you're good. I just heard that.
Yeah, but Josh will send around a shopping bag into which all of you who have your vapes and your oils and your CBD and all just go ahead and do that. That'll be a nice thing. So let me just say, this is a weird experience for me, because I've been involved in working to end the war on drugs, which includes ending marijuana prohibition, for many decades, since before many of you were born. And it feels good. And I stepped down from running Drug Policy Alliance. I started it, depending on how you count it, 94 to 2000, stepped down last year, kind of taking a little break to see what it is I want to do next. But this cause has obviously been dear to my heart. And I think, let me just say this. I think it's important. I always been kind of historically minded, just to understand and appreciate what you all are the product of. How did this happen that you're all sitting in a CannaGather room looking at how to make some money in the marijuana industry legally? Legally. I know some of you did it before this illegally, but you're all going to try to do it legally now. And so just to put this in some perspective, before Kelly mentioned, Marijuana Policy Project's been out there focusing solely on marijuana reform and been a key ally of Drug Policy Alliance for a long period of time, right? For me, coming into this thing, it was really a matter of looking at the entire war on drugs. The entire war on drugs. It was not just the criminalization of marijuana. It was not just that half of all the drug arrests in the country this year were for marijuana. It was not just the tens of millions of dollars funding really bad people coming out of both the U.S. and other foreign countries committing acts of violence. It was not just all the people being victimized by this stuff. It was not just the fact that there was this amazing medicine out there that the government insisted on treating as criminal. It was not just the people whose lives were destroyed, whose careers were destroyed, whose freedom was taken away because of marijuana. It was the broker drug war. It was the fact that this country, with barely 4% of the world's population, had over 20% of the world's incarcerated population, right? It was the war on crack cocaine and heroin that was sweeping up people like there was no tomorrow. It was building a nation in which our rates of incarceration are number 1 in the world. 5 to 10 times the rate of rates of incarceration in Europe and other civilized countries. It was building the number of people locked up on drug charges from 50,000 to 500,000 people. Not just weed, but everything else together. And just because, that doesn't mean I say we should be legalizing crack cocaine or legalizing heroin, but it is to say that treating those drugs as fundamentally a criminal matter, that treating anybody who uses or possesses those drugs as a criminal, even if they do no harm to anybody else, that it's just as wrong as the criminalization of marijuana as well. It doesn't make a solution to this thing. politics and economics and culture. Never before in American history has a movement driven almost entirely by concerns for personal freedom, for social justice, for racial equity, for good public policy, resulted virtually as a byproduct in the emergence of a legal industry that is soon going to be worth tens of billions of dollars a year. Never before. If you look at all the other social justice movements, the ones which, the movement for drug policy reform, we sort of, follow in the footsteps and stand on the shoulders, other movements for personal freedom and social justice, gay rights, civil rights, women's rights. Every one of those movements had significant economic ramifications as they succeeded, but not one of them developed a whole brand new industry. If you then look, for example, the one closest parallel, the repeal of alcohol prohibition. But the repeal of alcohol prohibition was essentially the re-legalization of something that had been legal just 15 years before. Major economic consequences, but nothing so radical. But here we're talking about a prohibition which goes back further than any of our lifetimes, which because of a movement driven by activists and by funders not interested in making a penny. Not interested in making a penny. When people start to say, oh, why did marijuana get legalized in America? It's because of the industry and American capitalism. Bullshit! Right now, in the last year or two, that's beginning to be a variable. But the reason we legalized medical marijuana in California in 1996, the reason we went to Washington and Oregon and Alaska and Colorado and Nevada and Maine in 1992, 2000 legalized medical marijuana, that had nothing to do with building an industry. The reason we made New Mexico the first state in 2007 to set up not just legalized medical marijuana, but to set up legal dispensaries, nothing to do with making money. This is all about eliminating, getting rid of a prohibition. It was about allowing people who could benefit from the medical benefits of marijuana to be able to obtain and be first in line in obtaining their medicine. When we started organizing around ending these racially discriminatory arrests in New York City and other ones, it wasn't about making money. It was about stopping a policy whereby young men of color who were no more likely to have a little weed in their pocket than young white men were nonetheless being stopped, arrested, busted, sent to jail at 2 to 10 times the rate of white kids, no matter where you are in the country. Just not fair. It wasn't about making the money. I devoted much of my life to this stuff. And so far, I'm not looking to make any money from this. Just having won this battle and gone as far as it is was important. I'll tell you something else, too, about the politics of this state. You know, some of these laws really pass. I mean, look, some of the states with ballot initiatives, we just put them on the initiative, DPA, MPP, others did that stuff. But in the legislative battles, you know how some of this stuff happens? We go to Connecticut to try to move something forward there, and we got opposition from the Black and Latino caucus. We work with them on reforming the sentencing laws around crack and powder cocaine. We win that battle, then we go back to the Black legislative caucus and say, okay, we opposed you on marijuana before, now we're with you. You know what happened in California in 2016? With major Latino population, Hispanic population, not all that sympathetic to marijuana legalization. What did we do? For 2 years, we worked with them to pass crimmigration bill, the intersection of criminal justice and immigration. We won their trust on that issue. And then we came back and said, are you going to be with us now on marijuana legalization? And they were. In New Jersey, we worked on legalizing clean needles and needle exchange to reduce the spread of HIV/AIDS, and on moving sentencing reform and things like that. And then we went back and we said, are you with us now in HIV and drugs and AIDS? And they came with us. It was understanding that marijuana reform, whether it was medical marijuana, whether it was reducing marijuana arrests, whether it was marijuana decrim, or whether it was adult use legalization, was woven into a broader framework of personal freedom and social justice. Now what that means, I think, is that even as all of you are here trying to make a dime, make a dollar, hopefully make $1 million, do not forget how this movement began. Do not forget that you are beginning to profit and to exist in an industry which before it became legal and even now resulted in the incarceration of tens or arrest of tens of millions of our fellow citizens and hundreds of millions around the world, which empowers police agencies to divert. I mean, we did all sorts of terrible things. What does that mean? It means, first of all, do it right. The marijuana industry, you have to aspire to become a model industry in this country and around the world. You have to aspire that in the days in the future when Harvard and all the other business schools are doing their case studies of emerging industries, they want to point to the marijuana, the cannabis industry as a model of a new and ethical industry, doing it with the right values, whether it's about helping to empower those people who got most screwed over by the drug war in the past, or whether it's by operating according to standards that are held. Look, we have a great product. I mean, not only is it wonderful to get high, but it's also the fact that the medical benefits are just so extraordinary. But the temptations to push a good product to the point where it becomes a bad product are omnipresent and always there. We never want to see cannabis getting tied in with tobacco in the same product. We don't want to see other things happening that are going to make them feel ashamed of being associated with marijuana. It means that as people worry about kids, and about whether kids are waking and baking, all this sort of thing, it means being committed to advancing honest drug use. One thing I'm very proud of with Drug Policy Alliance, the organization I built last year, is just last month, the first public high school in New York City embraced Drug Policy Alliance's Safety First project. Based upon a sex education model, a pragmatic harm reduction approach, Bard High School, you want to be supporting this stuff in your own personal lives. You want to be sitting on your kids, the PTAs at your kids' school. You want to be involved. You don't want to be ashamed. You want to be advancing what it means to keep kids safe. You want to be part of the dialogue. Where people are talking about drugs and kids, you're saying, yeah, we're worried. We're worried about that synthetic weed out there. We're worried about opioids. We're worried about the stimulant crisis. We're worried about kids crushing their Adderall and Ritalin and spreading it around. We're worried about booze. We're worried about tobacco. And we're worried about weed, about kids who are smoking, waking and baking, getting in trouble, storing up in the most vulnerable points. We're worried about that. And we have good approaches. It means that to the extent that any of you can make a commitment, and I hope it's all of you, to give back. There's a wonderful religious tradition of tithing. It goes back to the Bible. 1/10 of your fields, 1/10 of your earnings, you give back. I'm going to say, to the extent you can make 1/10, it should just be your profits, it should be your revenue. But let's just say 1/10 of peace to make that commitment. And I say, my loyalty, Drug Policy Alliance, Drug Policy Alliance, just go back tonight and send $5. Or support the politician to make a difference. But don't forget the origins of this thing. Understand that, so if marijuana gets legal, but there's still hundreds of thousands of people getting busted for simple possession of meth or cocaine or heroin, while other countries in Europe are not putting anybody in jail for those substances, and they're treating addiction entirely as a health issue, then justice is not done. And the thing that you're profiting from is not really worth it unless you're part of that cause to make this world a better place. So, listen, I'm a New Yorker. I was born on the Upper West Side. I've lived back in the West Side the last 25 years. It's pained me that my own state has been so slow. Andrew Cuomo was a good ally in reforming the draconian Rockefeller drug laws. He was good on some of the harm reduction, needle exchange overdose stuff. He's been such a laggard on the marijuana stuff. I mean, just you look at it, medical marijuana, he took a good bill we put through the legislature and turned it into a bad law, right? Then we had to hammer him for 2 years to try to fix up the medical marijuana stuff. Finally agreed to do that. Now he's hanging back. What did he say yesterday? Well, I guess in New Jersey and already Massachusetts doing it while we were together, but he's got to have a study because he can't figure out how it's going to make it work for him. But you just got to put the pressure on. But to make yourselves part of not just, I'm in this to legalize marijuana so I can make money, but I'm in this to legalize marijuana so I can help people for whom it's a medicine. I'm in this because I can't stand the fact that people are still getting busted. I'm in this because I don't just care about marijuana. I care about ending the entire war on drugs in this country and around the world. If that's what driving you, then that's what's going to happen.